What is going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. As you know, I make Charlotte Hornets content, so if that's just you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. In today's video, we are talking about the barn burner that we had against the Toronto Raptors. Look, we were missing Mark Williams and Brandon Miller. They were missing Emmanuel Quickly and Scotty Barnes. I mean, and then you just had to deal with the leftovers. There's not actually much to talk about this game for me, unless I'm going to rewatch it. And then hopefully before Friday, I can get out a video to talk about kind of what went well, what didn't go well. Because I think that it's just deeper than kind of the X's and O's as far as, I would say it's more about the X's and O's, more so than what you see with the box score. So for this video, we're going to talk about the box score, but I do feel like as though this game is deeper than that. But on a surface level, I mean, this is probably the healthiest we've been in a while, quantity-wise. Unfortunately, we are missing two starters in Brandon Miller and Mark Williams. But quantity-wise, having just two guys on the injury report, I think that bodes well for us that we were able to finally see somewhat what this team can do, even though I know a big chunk of the team obviously is missing, considering the value those two guys have. But having Josh Green back was proven to be valuable, as in he was 3 for 4 from 3. He had some effort plays. He had 2 blocks. I like what I saw from him. I think he's still trying to get his groove on with the team, but I think that he is finding it, and I do feel as though that, in the moments where as a team we were playing defense, I think he shined. But as you all know, we gave up a 23-point lead, which is completely unacceptable. That's why I'm saying it's deeper than just what we see on the box score here. In those moments, he did, I think, play good defense. I'll just talk about some positives real quick before we get into the negatives. Nick Richards, I think he had a pretty good game. Actually, I would say exceptional game. And not even his 24 points. I'm not even saying that because of his 24 points. I'm more so saying that because just his aggressiveness. That's one thing I've always said about Nick Richards, is that I just don't feel as though he's aggressive enough. In this game, he showed that. There's some things that he does not do that irritate me, but that's a video for another day. As far as just what you expect Nick Richards to do, I think this is well above expectation. And yeah, his aggressiveness was huge in us in winning the game tonight, because 14 boards, 7 offensive rebounds, 4 blocks, which is big, and 24 points, of course. And considering it's a negative 15, that's crazy, because, I mean, a lot of it comes from our bench playing so well. Yeah. But I like this game. Of course, he needs to work on the hands. Of course, I believe he watches his teammates get screened to hell and then kind of don't really help them, and it allows the ball handler to get like momentum going towards the rim, and I think that's why he struggles at those points where he's not really stopping the shot. Let me mute this real quick because I just realized the sound is on. I'm watching the Magic and the Bulls are up 1 with 5 minutes left. Nick Richards, I think he had a great game. Like I said, those nitpicky things, but I'm not worried about that. When you do well, I'm going to celebrate you. So those two things, they have always been there, but I really like aggressive Nick Richards. I thought he was a good matchup against Jakob Poeltl, who those two were battling on the boards. Let's see what Jakob Poeltl ended with 16 rebounds and 20 points. So they were just going at it. And I appreciate it. It was cool to see two bigs just kind of just show up. And neither of those guys are like premier bigs, but it was like a battle almost. They were kind of going back and forth for a little bit there. But huge for Nick Richards. He still needs to work. There's still things he needs to work on, but like I said, I think this is a Nick Richards game. I think that we don't win this game without Nick Richards. LaMelo Ball, I do want to talk about him for a little bit, just because I do. Like, you look at the numbers, 7 for 20, not good. 4 for 12, not good. And then only scoring 19 points, you would say not good. But I think that there was a moment where, one, he hit 3 amazing threes, like back to back to back. And then I think that fourth one was a heat check, but I felt like it was like an extremely ill-advised heat check. He was just trying to get the ball up. And I don't even think he was really, I wouldn't say he wasn't trying to make it, but he was just trying to okay, let's see how high I really am. But I think there's ways you can take heat checks without them being completely ill-advised. That one was completely ill-advised, but either way, for the most part, I thought he played well. I think the presence of LaMelo is what really kind of helped this team when they were struggling because, like I said, he didn't even score 20. So, first of all, the fact that we can win a game without LaMelo scoring 20, huge. But it was just his presence on the floor is what allowed these other guys like Trey Mann. Because I think with LaMelo on the floor, it allowed him to cook more. Cody Martin, of course, which we'll talk about, it allowed him to cook more. So having LaMelo Ball on the floor, I think overall, and okay, I'm not even paying attention to see if y'all can see it too. Okay, cool. Having him on the floor, that gravity is what's going to allow these other guys to be successful. And as long as he pairs, these games where he didn't play maybe the best he could, but yet he pairs it with games where, previously he's averaging 30 and shooting extremely efficient. I'm not saying he has to necessarily average 30, but he keeps having those great games, and then every now and then has a stinker. Just the presence alone is just going to be enough to get these other guys going. I think that was a huge part in Cody Martin being open. Trey Mann, a lot of his shots is just Trey Mann just being Trey Mann. He had some open shots, but a lot of it was just him being Trey Mann, of course. But yeah, LaMelo, the gravity of him is what allowed some of these guys to really get their looks. And talking about Cody Martin, probably the player of the game, honestly. I mean, I know Trey Mann had 27, and I think Grant had a quiet 17, but 17 nonetheless. I think it has to be Cody Martin. One, because personally, I didn't expect this from Cody Martin. I've always said, Cody Martin, I feel as though is good as the players around him. And unfortunately, he's been hurt, and unfortunately, he has not had good players around him because those good players have been hurt, suspended, whatever. In this game, he showed what he could do. Now, 25 is uncharacteristic. Hitting 4 of 6 from 3 is uncharacteristic, as he's never been a great shooter outside of that one season where we decided to extend him off that. But overall, I thought he was great. I thought he was fantastic. I'm not saying we're going to get this Cody Martin. I will be happy if we get half the production. Like, if we could, you take all his numbers right here. I'm looking to make sure, and split them in half. Maybe a couple more rebounds or something. And maybe, keep the steal. I'm through the roof because I thought this Cody Martin was gone. And maybe he just needed health. Maybe he didn't need to be starting, even though at times he was in the lineup with the starters, or he was going against the Raptors starters. But either way, I think Cody Martin had a really good game. Him being able to find himself to be open, I think, was big. Him converting on those shots was big. His defense, I thought, was pretty good. I think towards the end of the second half, middle of the second half, really, we stopped playing defense. So at that point going forward, there really wasn't much to say about our defense because it's almost as if it just went out the window and it just became one of those back and forth offensive games. But either way, I think Cody Martin played really, really well. There was times at the end where he was kind of running the offense, and then there would be no movement until like 10 seconds left. Let's not do that again because I don't think we were able to get up a shot off of that. And then there was a time he threw the ball away, but I think Trey Mann was able to get it. So obviously having him kind of run the offense isn't the key, but having him be off ball, having him being able to live off Trey Mann and LaMelo being on the floor, I think is big because having those two scores, and it doesn't have to be LaMelo Ball, Trey Mann, but I think having two scores and having Cody as your tertiary scorer in certain lineups, I think these are the kind of performances we can expect to see from him. Now, once again, I'm not saying 25, but maybe 15, 16, 17, somewhere around along those lines, we can really see Cody Martin flourish. And while his defense may never, after coming off knee injuries, while it may never be to where it once was, and I'm not saying he was the world's best defender, but at the end of the day, he was our best perimeter defender. While he may not be that anymore, him being able to, kind of lean more on the offensive end and be more efficient on the offensive end, but giving us decent defense, I think will probably pair better than what we were getting before, which was barely any offense, but a lot, some pretty solid defense. So having that kind of switch in his career, maybe because he doesn't need to rely on athleticism and quickness and whatnot anymore because of the injuries, I think that will, help us in the long run. It may kind of open up the room for maybe to us get another perimeter defender. Maybe we can see what we get from Miles. Like I said, defense after the middle of the second quarter in this game is just non-existent. So I wouldn't even say anybody had a good defensive performance. But either way, I think Cody Martin just had a really good game. I think he took advantage of what the defense gave him. I don't think he tried to do too much. That's been a criticism I've had about him. And I've talked a lot about Cody Martin because I was really high on him, and it's just disappointed that it's like, because I'm not asking for much, and I'm really still not getting much, even though I'm not asking for much. This game shut me up. This game shut me up, and I would love to see what he does going forward. I'm not going to quickly turn around and look at Friday and Saturday, and he doesn't perform well and be like, oh, he sucks. I'll get this performance to me garners him another week or two of just seeing kind of where he's at. Once again, I'm not expecting this performance, but if you can get me somewhere close to this, half the production consistently, I'm cool with. Tre Mann. So Tre Mann, as crazy as his stat line is, there was times where I felt as though he was dribbling a little too much, and he was kind of looking off everybody. And to me, it's not strange, because Tre Mann has always been a really, score first kind of guy. But last year when he first got to the Hornets, maybe that was just him not being comfortable with the system. He passed a lot more. And while he still had 4 assists, it felt like once the ball hit Tre Mann's hands, it kind of stopped moving. However, Tre Mann is extremely efficient. 10 for 19 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3. 3 for 3 from free throw line. So it worked out for him. 27 points. You can't ignore it. Did he have 2 blocks? Oh, 2 turnovers. I thought he had 2 blocks. He had 2 steals and 1 block. Either way, that's crazy. Tre Mann is a guy I really like. I know he can pass the ball, so that's kind of why I'm looking for him to do it more. But if you can get me 27, can I really complain? I think that he is really good for us, especially when Meaches is not on the floor, which Meaches didn't play tonight, thank goodness. Well, I was hoping for more Nick Smith Jr. minutes, but instead we got Tajon minutes. So maybe, and Tajon, while he wasn't great, he was plus 11, and he didn't look the best on the floor, but hey, all things considered, it was all right. It's like a rookie, we knew he was raw. Either way, it's not about Tajon, it's about Tre. Tre was able to kind of operate the offense in the way he wants to. He doesn't, because before he was kind of sharing the floor with Micic and kind of playing off Micic, and Micic definitely was like the ball would get in his hand and would just die. And not necessarily because he's a ball hog, it's just more so he didn't do anything with it. And then Tre Mann, I think, needs a little more time in the clock to be able to work, just because he is so dribble centric. But I think he played well. He got into his spots. He took some wouldn't say crazy shots, but he took some shots that are like, you could maybe got a better look. But he made a lot of open shots, and he was able to create that space, and that's what we need. We need someone to be able to create their own space, and I'm liking to have him come off the bench. I know a lot of people want to start him, and of course, if this was 2K and you're starting people off overall, he probably would start. But without him starting, if he started, there's nobody on the bench that can do what he does, even close. Grant Williams definitely needs to be set up. Cody Martin, we saw he just needs to have that gravitation. He needs to have someone on the floor, maybe 2 people even on the floor, to allow him to get the looks he was getting tonight. Tajon for sure, and there's really no one else you can really talk about. So yeah, and Seth, who will probably be on the bench at some point, and Josh Green too. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a starter, but just in case, if he were to come off the bench, no one can do what Tre Mann does. That's why I feel as though he cannot start, and it has nothing to do with how good he is. It just has everything to do with how this team's constructed. There's just no reason for Tre Mann to start, especially when, in the end, he's getting starter-like minutes. Like LaMelo played 32 minutes, Tre Mann played 28. And I'm pretty sure if I go look at Tre Mann's minutes, he probably averages a lot of minutes. So Tre Mann, I think he's one of them, man. He's been really good for us, and I would like to say it's a surprise, but it's not. Now I would say to the scale, it may be a surprise. 27, and then he had 30. Or was it 30? It was something like that at the very first game of the season. So I really wouldn't say necessarily that it's just where he needs to start, because this is the production I think we need off the bench. Grant Williams. One thing I'll just pick on Grant Williams for a second here because, like I said, quiet 17. I thought he had a pretty good game. It felt like as though every time he was open and we needed a three, he was able to get it for us. And I mean, his stats kind of show that by being 3 for 4. But one thing I will pick on him about is that I feel as though he's been trying to dribble a little too much this season, and he loses the ball every time. He slips, he just drops it. I don't know, but he loses the ball every time. So I would like that to get cleaned up. But overall, I think this team is. I'm like what I'm seeing for the most part. Like, this is the thing, and this is why I say I really just need to look and go into just kind of look at the film. I say that because we really shouldn't have blown that lead, but normally these are games we lose. Not necessarily the whole, losing the 23-point lead, because very rarely the last few years are we getting a 23-point lead, but we would give up leads late and could never get back into the game. In this game, there was like a little maybe 3 to 4 minute stretch where it felt as though, okay, we're not really getting close. We're constantly 6 points behind. But then we kind of took over, and then really we're able to spring forward. And Cody Martin was a big part of that. Trey Mann was a big part of that. LaMelo Ball had one of the clutch baskets of the game, of course. So these are games we normally lose, and I think that we kind of bucked up when it was time to buck up and kind of close the game out. So I'm really proud of the guys. Of course, you never want to give up a 23-point lead. We are a young team. We're missing players, young coach, young staff. We're still gelling together. We still have players like LaMelo still, let's not forget, he's basically almost missed roughly 2 years of basketball on and off. So let's not forget that. So there's just a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. However, being able to win this game was huge. Miles couldn't score. He just did not look himself tonight. LaMelo Ball just trying to do too much, which I understand because it has felt as though he needs to drop at least 30 for us to even have a chance to win. But them two not performing in the way we're used to them performing and us still winning that game, huge. Is that every night going to be Trey Mann scoring 27? No. I mean, we can, at most consistently be able to maybe expect 20 from Trey Mann, 18, 16. Where is that other 8 going to come from? Cody Martin, 25. This is a career high for him. Where do we expect that other, let's roughly say 13 to come from? More than likely it's going to be LaMelo, Miles, Brandon. But let's just say for whatever reason, all 3 of them have a bad game. Where is that going to come from? So that's why I'm saying we can't rely on it every night. But there's definitely places where it can be spread out. Josh Green maybe getting a couple more points there. Seth Curry maybe getting a couple more. I would say Grant, but Grant had 17. So, yeah, overall, and maybe if you add Mark into the mix, that does it. So, I can see where this can be. I don't want to say a habit because I don't want to see Miles and LaMelo kind of not perform this way. I don't want to see that. But we have the personnel to where if they do perform this way, it can be picked up. Like I said, Brandon, Mark, Josh Green could probably pick up some of the slack. We got Tajon, maybe when he kind of gets going, if these minutes continue, which maybe not once Brandon comes back, but there's other places where it can be picked up. So having that, I think, is going to be big for this team because this game, as ugly as it was, and as much as I would, can easily say, like, there's a lot of stuff we should have did better, just being able to close out the game, I think, is a success in itself because that's something we typically do not see with this team. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. I personally, like I said, I really had to rewatch this game. I missed the first quarter, but I was able to watch from the second quarter on. And yeah, there's a lot I need to see because I need to know what exactly happened. It truly just looked like we just stopped playing defense and then we couldn't score. I know part of that LaMelo was off the floor and whatnot, so it just can't be that much of a swing when LaMelo comes off the floor. It can't be. Grady Dick had a great game. I actually thought about betting on him and I took it off and betted on, I think, Abaji, which he got me what I needed. So shout out to Abaji. But because you knew somebody from the Hornets was going to hit from 3, and even though Grady Dick didn't, still 30 points is crazy. This is a Grady Dick-led team, and he dropped 30. Grady Dick's a good player. I like Grady Dick coming out of Kansas. RJ Barrett, 31. Jacopoto, of course, we mentioned 20. I really wanted Jonathan Mogbo to come to the Hornets. I don't remember where he was drafted, but I remember that we couldn't get him. But he's a very, very solid player all around. He played some good defense as well. This I like this Raptors team. It's crazy. Jamal Shed, or Sheed, he had 7 and 9. I really like this. Is a scrappy Toronto team. I see why some people were high on them. I personally think we got them beat because another reason this was a big game for us to win is because these are teams we're kind of lined up with. The Hawks, I wouldn't say the Wizards, but maybe Detroit because I think they won tonight. Who else would be in the East? The Hawks, the Raptors, the Bulls when we play them maybe. So yeah, teams like that we're just gonna be in the mix with. I know I'm forgetting somebody, but either way, we're gonna be in the mix with these teams. So we gotta win those games. I don't care if they're missing everybody or if they're missing no one. We have to kind of win these games, or at least I think I said before the season, split the series. And so this is a good start. It would have been a shame to lose this game, especially when it was in Charlotte. They were missing players, so imagine maybe they're healthy and then we're in Toronto. You just don't want to see it. You don't want it to come down to that, especially if we're trying to achieve something. But overall, it was an ugly game. That's why there's really not much to say as far as like X's and O's. But I think that just being able to scrap out and get the win tells a lot about this team. We shot really well from the field, 52% from the field, 44% from 3, 80% from the free throw line, which I think is huge for us because we typically don't shoot that well from the free throw line. But yeah. Also, what's crazy is 138 points and 133 points in regulation is insane. Especially when I think can I look at the recap? Is the recap going to show me the first quarter? Oh, no, it's like playing a video. That's not what I want to see. I'm trying to see what the first quarter look. Can I just see the first quarter? Either way, the Raptors didn't score much in the first quarter. Usually there's a filter somewhere on here to show me the first quarter, but I can't find it. Either way, shout out to the Hornets for winning. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. I will be doing another video where I go back and see just what the hell happened because it really just seemed like we stopped playing defense. But it just can't be that, right? It has to be something else. So I'll look into it. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.